You think you are choosing when to look at your phone. You believe you decide when your attention is taken. You assume your focus still belongs to you. You feel in control because you can put the screen down. You tell yourself you could stop anytime you wanted. You tell yourself you are not like the others. You tell yourself you are aware of the trap. You tell yourself awareness is the same as freedom. You do not notice how often you quietly say yes. You say yes to the buzz in your pocket. You say yes to the glow on your screen. You say yes because you think staying informed keeps you safe. You subscribe because you want protection from being left behind. You subscribe because you want to understand what is shaping you. You subscribe because you sense something is already shaping you. You subscribe because you do not want to be the last to notice. You subscribe because you feel exposed without awareness. You subscribe because you are tired of being quietly steered. You do not remember when checking became automatic. You do not remember when waiting became uncomfortable. You do not remember when silence began to feel heavy. You notice how you fill gaps without thinking. You reach for your phone when nothing is happening. You reach for your phone when something feels awkward. You reach for your phone to avoid a moment with yourself. You say yes to distraction because it feels polite to respond. You say yes because ignoring feels rude. You say yes because being unavailable feels like a small rebellion. You have been trained to keep yourself reachable. You have been trained to keep your attention open. You have been trained to keep your mind slightly ajar. You call this being connected. You call this being modern. You call this being responsible. You do not call this being conditioned. You do not call this being shaped. You do not call this being rehearsed. You notice how often you apologize for slow replies. You notice how often you apologize for being human. You notice how often you apologize for needing space. You say sorry for not answering quickly enough. You say sorry for having a life outside the screen. You say sorry for existing at your own pace. You say yes to urgency that was never yours. You feel tension when you delay. You feel relief when you comply. You feel a small release when you respond. You mistake relief for choice. You mistake compliance for agency. You mistake reaction for control. You tell yourself a short break will reset you. You tell yourself a detox will fix you. You tell yourself a few days offline will rewire you. You feel virtuous when you delete an app. You feel strong when you turn notifications off. You feel proud when you announce a break. You feel watched even when no one is watching. You feel restless when the noise stops. You feel empty when stimulation fades. You feel uneasy when nothing asks for you. You fill the space with thoughts you avoided. You notice how loud your own mind becomes. You notice how quickly you want to escape it. You notice how unfamiliar stillness feels. You begin to wonder why silence feels unsafe. You begin to wonder who taught you to fear it. You begin to wonder what your attention has been feeding. You return to your screen with the story of balance. You return with rules you plan to keep. You return with boundaries you expect yourself to honor. You break them quietly. You justify it kindly. You forgive yourself quickly. You repeat the pattern without naming it. You say yes to another notification. You say yes to another interruption. You say yes to another small surrender. You feel productive while feeling scattered. You feel informed while feeling thin. You feel busy while feeling hollow. You do not notice the cost because it is charged in fragments. You do not notice the erosion because it happens in seconds. You do not notice the shaping because it feels like choice. You feel irritation when you cannot check. You feel anxious when you are unreachable. You feel guilt when you prioritize yourself. You feel relief when you return to the stream. You confuse relief with recovery. You confuse noise with comfort. You confuse availability with value. You are rewarded for staying open. You are rewarded for staying responsive. You are rewarded for staying slightly tense. You begin to measure yourself by responsiveness. You begin to measure worth by visibility. You begin to measure presence by output. You call this normal. You call this necessary. You call this the price of modern life. You do not call this training. You do not call this rehearsal. You do not call this behavioral conditioning. You feel uneasy hearing that phrase. You prefer softer language. You prefer to believe you're choosing. You prefer to believe detox is the cure. You prefer to believe disconnection fixes the wiring. You do not want to hear that wiring is reinforced by return. You do not want to hear that brace can strengthen the loop. You do not want to hear that relief can deepen dependence. You resist this idea quietly. You resist because it threatens your story of control. You resist because it exposes how small the choice has become. You feel discomfort when the pattern is named. You feel exposed when the habit is mirrored back to you. You notice how quickly you want to disagree. You notice how quickly you want to scroll. You notice how quickly you want to escape the reflection. You sit with the idea that detox may soothe without changing the loop. You sit with the idea that withdrawal is not rewiring. You sit with the idea that relief is not freedom. You sense something heavier beneath the surface. You sense the habit is not about screens. You sense the habit is about saying yes. You sense the habit is about permission. You sense the habit is about being reachable. You sense the habit is about being agreeable to interruption. You sense the habit was never neutral. You sense the habit keeps you open for shaping. You begin to see the core truth. You are not detoxing from technology. You are negotiating with a system trained to receive your yes. You are taught to offer your attention before you offer your consent. You are taught that availability equals virtue. You are taught that delay equals disrespect. You are taught to apologize for boundaries. You are taught to explain your absence. You are taught to make access easy. You are taught to keep yourself interruptible. You begin to realize detox does not rewire the training. You begin to realize detox soothes the symptoms. You begin to realize the habit lives beneath the device. You feel a quiet anger at how small the choice has been made. You feel a quiet sadness at how gently you complied. You feel a quiet fear of what silence might reveal. You feel a quiet responsibility returning to you. You see that saying no feels heavier than saying yes. You see that discomfort is part of taking attention back. You see that rewiring begins with tolerating the unease. You let the silence exist without filling it. You let boredom pass without fixing it. You let your mind settle without feeding it noise. You feel the residue of the habit linger. You feel the pull return when life feels thin. You notice the reflex before you act on it. You name the reflex quietly. You give yourself a moment before responding. You reclaim a fragment of choice. You do not become free in one decision. You practice freedom in small refusals. You practice freedom by pausing your yes. You practice freedom by not apologizing for space. You practice freedom by letting messages wait. You practice freedom by letting attention belong to you. You feel the world does not collapse when you delay. You feel the urgency was not real. You feel the pressure was rehearsed. You feel the habit loosening slightly. You feel the residue still there. You carry the awareness forward quietly. You carry the discomfort without escaping it. You carry the choice without announcing it. You ask yourself who benefits from your constant yes. You share this with someone who feels the same pull. You subscribe quietly if you want to keep reclaiming choice.